he surrounded Michael and continued firing, he would eventually fall and remain down long enough to be captured or destroyed. Now, Jason can afford to make mistakes because his body can absorb almost literally anything.
I think Michael Myers still has like some sort of like human aspect to him, even.
Oh, what's up? Oh, what's up?
What up, it's Ahmadjay back here to another video. Today we're about to be reacting to a video by movie film critic. Video is gonna be on what if Michael Myers replaced Jason Voorhees. Jesus Christ, I'm about to nerd out on this video. Man, these are like my two favorite like slashers, bro. Two favorite top 10, bro. Jason, bro. First goes Jason, and then Michael Myers. I'm a huge Jason fan. I know I'm wearing a Michael Myers shirt right now, which is kind of crazy, but he, like I said, my second favorite. But like, I have never imagined this little thought scenario of putting Michael in the universe of Jason, honestly. And honestly, this can go either both ways, low-key, because he was like a slow, methodical killer just like Jason. Sometimes Jason walked fast, but like, I don't know how it would go. But like, I feel like Michael's a good, smart slasher at times. But I don't know, let's see what he comes up with, and let's see what points I could just like add on to that, because like, it's kind of hard thinking of it right now. Well, let's just get into it. If you like horror and enjoy it, I'll be putting these out every once in a while. I'm trying to get my other channel started up, but like, let's just get into it.
Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees are two characters who are constantly compared to each other. They are both silent mass killers who move slowly and somehow always pop up exactly where their victims are trying to escape. It almost feels like they're teleporting at sometimes. And on the surface, it almost feels like...
I think Jason has the ability to teleport, honestly. Yeah, I think Jason has the ability to teleport, bro. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know when that happened, but like, yeah, he has an ability to teleport, because like, no, in 6, in 6 it happens. I mean, I think I'm right, because I don't know too much about the Friday the 13th Part 6.
You could place Michael Myers at Camp Crystal Lake and nothing would really change at all. But when you really truly compare the two, Michael and Jason are actually very different killers. So what if Michael Myers replaced Jason Voorhees as the killer of Camp Crystal Lake? Would Michael dominate the camp just as effectively as Jason did, or would he eventually fail because he does not have Jason's supernatural strength and connection to the area? Now, Michael would obviously need a reason to be at Crystal Lake. So let's imagine that instead of becoming obsessed with Haddonfield and Laurie Strode, Michael escapes to Smith's Grove and somehow ends up near Camp Crystal Lake. And let's just also say that Jason Voorhees is dead. He's completely dead and he can never return. So the camp becomes Michael's new hunting ground, and the counselors arriving each summer become his equivalent of the people living in Haddonfield on Halloween nights. And to also make this comparison fair, we are going to look at Michael in two different situations. First, we have to place him in the position of human Jason from Friday the 13th Parts 2 through 4. Then we will see whether Michael could continue killing people in Crystal Lake once Jason becomes the undead monster from Jason Lives and the movies that follow.
Yeah, that'll be like a... Yeah, I'm excited to see that part of the video, because like, we all know Jason got turned into an undead zombie after that whole thing. He died in Part 4, like his human form died, but got revived in some type of lightning rod, with the lightning rod. And yeah, that's gonna be a good comparison.
So starting with human Jason, this is where Michael Myers would be at his absolute best, but he was not yet the nearly indestructible monster he would later become in the older movies. He could be injured, knocked unconscious, and eventually killed by a determined enough survivor. He relied on stalking isolated victims and using his knowledge of the woods to catch people when they were alone. And Michael could absolutely do all of that. In fact, Michael would probably hunt the early Crystal Lake counselors more efficiently than Jason did. Now, the original Halloween proves that Michael is capable of watching an entire group of people without being noticed whatsoever. He follows Laurie.
I feel like, yeah, honestly, and for this comparison, I feel like, bro, Michael is more smarter in this whole thing. You can say he's crazy and delusional, and like has a killing drive, but like the most scariest people in like slasher type of movies and horror villains like or somewhat smart and like have some type of thing about themselves that are smart. But yeah, but this whole field, he's really smarter than Jason. I feel like Jason is more like an outdoor type of woodsman type of killer because like he just goes with the flow and just he's like a tracker basically. He's smart in some aspects, but like not that smart. He's kind of dumb. He gets like eventually kind of tricked into it because like he has like mental problems in his head. He gets tricked by the girl. I forgot her name. He got tricked by Jenny. Yeah, he got tricked by Jenny, like trying to be because he thought she was his mom. But like, I don't see Michael Myers kind of getting like tricked by that, bro.
Annie and Linda throughout Haddonfield for hours in the first Halloween movie. He learns where they're going, he waits for them to separate, and he never exposes himself until he is ready to attack them. Now, Michael does not immediately break into the Wallace house and begin killing everyone. He waits until Annie leaves, kills her while she is isolated, and then uses the house as the center of his plan. When he sees Bob, Michael waits for him to enter the kitchen alone. Then after killing Bob, Michael covers himself with a sheet, and this essentially tricks Linda into believing that's actually Bob playing a prank on her. And that moment is one of the clearest examples of Michael being more intelligent and deceptive than Jason. Jason occasionally hides or uses surprise attacks, but human Jason rarely manipulates his victims like that. He usually waits for someone to enter his territory and then attacks them directly. Michael actively creates situations where his victims walk into danger without—
And sometimes a lot of people a lot of fucking people, a lot of characters in Friday the 13th series are really stupid. I mean, you can say the same for the Halloween series, but like they're really stupid.
even realizing it. And at Camp Crystal Lake, that would make him extremely dangerous. Michael would spend the first day watching the counselors from the woods. He would learn which cabins they were using, where the vehicles are parked, who was responsible for the camp's communication equipment, and which counselors regularly separated from the group. Because the camp is just so isolated, Michael would have even more freedom than he did in Haddonfield. Like, Michael was operating in a populated neighborhood filled with people. Like, even with all of those people around, he remained mostly undetected. Crystal Lake would be the perfect situation for him. He can move through the woods and watch the counselors without anyone seeing more than a brief glimpse of him. By the time the group realized someone was hunting him, Michael could have already disabled their cars and cut off their communication, because Michael has repeatedly shown that he understands technology and basic infrastructure well enough to isolate his targets. In Halloween, he steals and drives a car despite spending most of his life inside Smith's Grove. He knows how to enter homes without immediately attracting attention and use the environment to control where Laurie goes. And also in Halloween 4, Michael causes a town-wide power failure and attacks the police station.
That was a crazy ass kill, bro. He not only knocked out their power, he literally killed the guy at the same time and earned some more slasher points.
Eliminating much of Haddonfield's protection before going after Jamie Lloyd. Whether every part of that plan was perfectly calculated is kind of debatable, but Michael clearly recognizes that the police and the town's communication systems are obviously obstacles for him. Human Jason is not completely unintelligent. You know, he sets traps, understands the layout of Camp Crystal Lake, and he is capable of sneaking up on people despite his size. However, his plans are usually much more direct, and Michael kind of thinks several steps ahead when he's going after his victims. Now, imagine Michael replacing Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2, because the counselors in that movie already make themselves pretty easy targets. Human Jason successfully eliminates most of them, but Michael could potentially do it without creating as much noise or giving the survivors as many chances to understand what is happening. Instead of simply killing whoever he finds first, Michael would likely choose victims based on how their deaths could isolate the others. He might kill the person responsible for, I don't know, let's say transportation first, then remove whoever has access to a phone or a radio, and then after that, maybe he could sneak attack the counselors who were the most likely to protect the group. He could even move bodies around the camp to create distractions. Michael frequently arranges his victims for others to discover. In the original Halloween, he turns the Wallace house into a disturbing display for Laurie. Annie's body is placed beneath Judas Myers' tombstone, and the other victims are hidden nearby. Michael is not trying to kill Laurie, he wants her frightened and
That's like two aspects that they have in common. They like to stage the scene for the final round for the final girl to find line, bro. They be staging it in crazy ass ways, especially sometimes Jason. But Michael Myers has like a notorious way of just staging it. He does it on purpose. He wants the person to freak out, bro. So this is why I like say he's just like smarter than Jason in like a lot of aspects.
Oriented. And at Crystal Lake, Michael could use these same strategies to separate the survivors. He could leave a body near one cabin, wait for someone to discover it, and attack another person while everyone's attention was focused on the first location. Michael would also be physically capable of overpowering almost every counselor human Jason fought. Even though Jason is generally stronger, Michael has shown more than enough strength to handle ordinary people. Now, human Jason may have a slight advantage in raw strength, but the gap is not large enough to make a difference against unarmed camp counselors. Where Michael might struggle is his lack of,
especially like regular people. I don't see regular people actually like doing anything to Michael Myers in that aspect, because like he said, like he's been shown a lot of damn strength, throwing grown ass man into an electric field, holding up like I think in part I think the Halloween 6, he held up that big ass dude, and it basically electrocuted him and Michael. Michael wasn't even affected by that. I think I already watched a video on him on his video. He said that was his most powerful form, and that was his most powerful form because he had strength and I guess that curse and power or whatever, something like that.
Familiarity with Crystal Lake. Jason grew up around the camp and spent years surviving in the surrounding wilderness. He understands the woods like it's the back of his hand, and he knows the best hiding spots better than anyone. Michael would be entering unfamiliar territory. However, this problem would probably be temporary. Michael is patient enough to observe the camp before beginning his attacks. Once Michael memorized the camp, Crystal Lake would become his new Haddonfield. The most important challenge from Jason's human era would obviously be Tommy Jarvis. In the final chapter, Tommy helps defeat Jason by distracting him and then attacking him with his own machete. Jason is physically powerful, but he becomes fixated when Tommy shaves his head and makes himself resemble Jason as a child. Now that hesitation gives Tommy and Trish the opportunity they need to get Jason.
Yeah, that goes, like I said, that goes back to everything I just kind of talked about earlier. He gets too distracted, like when, like, you know, rare shit really kind of matters, especially when it comes like the final scenes and a character's really smart enough to like know the trick of just trying to act like his mom or something. And like, bro, and like, I feel like Jenny was kind of worse for him. I wish she kind of, if she was smart, she would have finished the job just like Tommy did, bro. But like yeah, like they both came up with like a plan and they got him distracted.
Vulnerable. But that same strategy would not work against Michael Myers. Now, Michael does have emotional connections to his childhood, but he does not react to them the same way Jason does. Tommy could try to make himself look like a younger Michael Myers, and he would probably expect Michael to become confused or vulnerable just as Jason did. But Michael would probably recognize it as a distraction. Michael is more likely to identify Tommy as a threat before the final confrontation. Jason spends most of the final chapter killing people around the house while Tommy is given enough time to understand what is truly happening. Now, Michael has a habit of watching his main targets and studying the people protecting them, but that does not guarantee Michael would kill him. Tommy is intelligent and has survived situations where almost everyone else died. However, Tommy's method of defeating human Jason depended partly on exploiting Jason's psychology, and because of that, Michael would be far harder to manipulate in the same way Jason Voorhees was. Against human Jason's victims and circumstances, Michael Myers might genuinely do a better job. He is strong enough to overpower the counselors, durable enough to survive their attacks, and more intelligent than Jason when it comes to deception and planning. He would not need to charge directly into confrontations because he would make sure the victims were isolated before he even attacked. But everything changes once we move into the undead Jason era.
This is the part I really want to see.
Tommy accidentally resurrects Jason by driving a metal fence post into his body during a lightning storm. After this, Jason is no longer a deformed but living man. He is an undead killing machine. This version of Jason does not appear to—
Bro, this was my favorite form of Jason. The whole kind of thing kind of solidified his whole little like aspect of just like how like he was just like had no more attachments and no more feelings toward anything really. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this Jason wouldn't be getting distracted by that. That whole little mental block or mental thing. He was kind of, I feel like he was driven more by kind of darkness and just killing, basically. But like, yeah, his whole little outfit and his whole little tool belt, bro, the brown pants, that kind of brought the whole outfit together. That shit was hard, bro.
to feel pain in any meaningful way. He can be stabbed, burned, electrocuted, and physically destroyed without remaining dead at all. Michael is extremely durable, especially in the original timeline, but he's not on the same level as undead Jason.
Yeah.
So obviously Michael could still dominate ordinary counselors during the undead Jason era, because the teenagers living at Crystal Lake would not suddenly become stronger just because Jason was supernatural. Michael could still stalk and eliminate them just as easily as he did the earlier groups, because he would still be more intelligent than undead Jason, and that difference might make him more efficient. Now, undead Jason has very little reason to be cautious. He can walk directly into gunfire because most weapons literally cannot stop him whatsoever. Now, because of this, Michael would approach more carefully. However, undead Jason's movies introduce threats that Michael is not physically equipped to survive. The police in Jason Lives shoot Jason repeatedly, but it does almost completely nothing. Now, Michael has survived gunshots just like Jason, but enough damage can temporarily stop him. If the police surrounded Michael and continued firing, he would eventually fall and remain down long enough to be captured or destroyed. Now, Jason can afford to make mistakes because his body can absorb almost literally anything. Michael's intelligence would help him avoid some of these mistakes, but intelligence cannot completely replace immortality.
And honestly, I feel like it's if Jason was caught, like, what the fuck are you gonna do with Jason? You're gonna have to come up with a plan to destroy his body, but like, he's not gonna be knocked out like how Michael Myers, is gonna be knocked out. I feel like Michael Myers still has like some sort of like human aspect to him, even in the like Curse movies part or whatever. You can say that his most powerful version, he still has some type of human aspect to him. But like Jason, after he gets resurrected, this nigga's a full zombie, bro. He doesn't have like nothing holding him back. Like, bro, like they were trying to do everything to kill this nigga, and it did not work, bro. Hell, like speaking of that, they even tried to kill him in Jason versus not Jason versus Freddy. It was Jason X. Tried to blow his body up repeatedly. They heard that, and it did nothing to him.
Mortality. Tommy's final plan in Jason Lives also shows the difference. Tommy chains Jason to the bottom of Crystal Lake because he realizes Jason cannot be killed normally. Even after Jason is trapped underwater, he does not truly die. He remains there waiting to return. If Michael were dragged into the lake with a chain around his neck, his fate would be much less certain. Now, Michael can survive for an unnatural amount of time, but he has never consistently demonstrated Jason's ability to remain underwater indefinitely and return years later. However, Michael could not fully replace undead Jason, and because of that, Michael would have to perform better as a hunter. So Michael Myers could dominate Camp Crystal Lake, but he would not completely replace Jason Voorhees throughout the entire Crystal Lake story. Jason is the superior physical monster, but he is definitely not the smarter one.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that. I can just definitely agree with that. So he basically can replace Jason as, like, in his human form. I can agree with that because like it's totally valid, because like, yeah, Sackhead Jason and the other Jasons were before the beginning were pretty dumb and easy to manipulate. He still was a killing machine, but like he was just too like kind of more like his psyche was just kind of like more up for manipulation, and towards some aspects, if you're going to try to, you can replace him with I think, yeah, you can replace a human Jason with him. But Mike, if we're talking like, I think Jason from like part 6 and for the rest of the series, nah, bro, he's just a damn killing machine and just can't be stopped. And honestly, I feel like if like Michael takes some other approach and didn't have all those aspects to be getting stopped, or you taking the fact what they did to Jason, all that severe ass punishment that they did to him, especially in part 8, yeah, I don't think bro would be surviving that. Yeah, but yeah, you could tell the story like different types of ways, and adding like all their aspects into the movie, but like it always end up with like a few counselors or a lot of people dying, or somebody smart enough to just try to learn how to kill him, especially like how Tommy did the role like twice at least and defeated Jason. But let me know what you guys think below. Would you think Jason would be handling the part 6 and up and could take all that damage to his body? Or yeah, just let me know in the comments. But like, go take a look at the original video in the description. And we are on the road to 850. Catch you guys in the next video.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?